Not too close. Buckle, buckle. Let's go there. Go here. Turn that off. And then, yeah, what's good? What's good? What's good? Hope everybody in TV land is doing great. But you are now watching J.U.K Sports Show. I'm your host, Kyng Ralph. Big chillin', sipping my Dutch Bros. Hope everybody's doing great. Got a great show ahead. And before we get all into the show and all that good stuff, make sure to send a shout out to the sponsors. You want to do a podcast like what you're watching, music video, photo shoot, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. Make sure you go like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff on all of the socials. You can like the Facebook page on the He Say She Say channel. Subscribe at Juke Media on YouTube. Follow us at Juke Sports Show on Instagram. You can follow me everywhere at KYNGRALPH at an underscore for X or Twitter. And we got some extensions in the NFL before we get talking about the NBA playoffs. Jared Goff was given an extension by the Detroit Lions, 4 years, 212 million, 170 million guaranteed, making him the second highest paid player in the league behind Joe Burrow. I'm never gonna say someone don't deserve to get their bread, but I just feel like the quarterback market is just so they thirsty as hell, bro. Like it just don't make no sense. You get a decent quarterback that has a couple decent years, and we get make him the second paid player, second highest paid player in the league is just wild to me. And so he's had an uptick in yardage that he's been putting up. He's increased yardage, increased accuracy, and completion percentage, brought down his interceptions. So like he's trending in the right direction. But also I think like this past year was the first time that I've seen him be able to win a game with no run game. And it's like typically he's the type of quarterback that needs that run game. He leans heavy on the run game in order to be able to get throw the ball and move the ball down the field. And so this was the past first year that I've seen him do it. So I'm gonna give him some praise. And maybe he does deserve it. But at the same time, I feel like when it's a black quarterback, you gotta have 4 years before of greatness before they try to give you any type of contract like this. Like look at what Lamar Jackson had to put up with and do in order for him to just get even a fraction of that. And I feel like he had to put in way more work and then like wait it out. The process was much longer. Whereas there was questions of whether or not him being even on the team or not the next season. Next up, Antoine Winfield Jr., Tampa Bay Buccaneers, work out a deal, making him the highest paid DB, not just safety, in the league. 4 years, 84.4.1 million and 45 million guaranteed. I think his versatility on the defense um is one of those things that is hard to find when you have someone that can play um different positions and different slots and different schemes. You got to be able to lock those people up. And he's young, still got a lot of good football in him. And so I don't really have an issue with either one. I just dislike the amount of money and just hearing the word like Jared Goff is the second highest paid player in the league is just crazy. NBA lottery came and went. I'm pissed. I feel like as bad as the Bulls be, we got that top that number one pick with Derrick Rose, which are the odds of us getting it was crazy, and we just haven't got anything after that. And so us getting Chicago Bulls get the 11th pick in the lottery. Atlanta Hawks win the lottery and are have the number one pick in the draft. Now I think we got to have the conversation of do you just add a piece and have them work it out, or do you go into full rebuild mode with Atlanta? Because now you got DeJounte Murray, you got Trey Young, and then you have the number one pick, someone that can come in. You might need to wait 2 or 3 years before they're playing at a super high level that you would need them to be able to contend. But I think with how young DeJounte Murray and Trey Young are, it does give you some patience that you would need to have in order to really be able to flourish with that number one pick. But you can either go in that direction or you can completely blow it up, trade Murray and Young for pieces for the future. And so I think this is going to be an interesting couple of weeks because I think the NBA combine is going on right now, and I think by the end of June, like a month from now, is when they normally do the NBA draft. So it's going to be an interesting month, seeing what becomes of that number one draft pick. And so to get into the playoffs, I just wrapped up Knicks versus Pacers in the Eastern Conference semifinals. So I'm gonna start with them and then go Pacers and I mean Cavs and Celtics. So Pacers and Knicks, number six Pacers, number two Knicks are. Oh, I gotta flip that around because it makes it look like the Pacers are the ones with the 3-2 lead, and that is not the case. So there we go. Now we got it, fixed it. Knicks are up, just go up after a victory at home. Very secure, dominant fashion. Jalen Brunson put up 44 points. I just feel like the Knicks are just a better team with not as much depth. So at the top, like their top five, their starting five is just going to be better than the Pacers starting five. And then after that, it's like the bench, and it was what keeping them in there as well as the Knicks. I mean, not the Knicks, but the Pacers play hard and they shoot a lot of threes. They hit a lot of threes, so they're always going to be in the game. But in the end, I just feel like the Knicks are just too much. Knicks in six. I didn't even see it really getting this far. I think I might have had the Knicks in five if I go back and actually look at it. But I don't remember. But Knicks in six. And so next up, number four Cavs, number one in the Eastern Conference. Celtics are up 3-1. Once again, did it again. I'm probably gonna have to go through some of the other ones and look before we get there. But like I said, Cavs have too much weaponry. Donovan Mitchell is dealing with injuries. Jared Allen has been out. Garland finally had a game, and Mobley is really the key for the team and has always been. I feel like Donovan Mitchell is going to do his thing. You can't have nights where Evan Mobley and Garland aren't hooping because you're definitely not going to win. You need one, if not both, in order to beat a lot of. The better the team, the more you need all three of them rather than two. And so Evan Mobley finally had a decent game, but Celtics were able to pull it out in the end. And I just think they're just too much right now for the Cavs, especially with Donovan Mitchell not playing. And so I just don't see it really going that far, if you will. Next up, Western Conference Finals, semifinals. Right now, we got the Wolves and Nuggets even at 2-2. They're actually playing right now. I think the Timberwolves are up 30-28 at the beginning of the second quarter right now. So I think this one here is tough, man. Let me sip my drink. Because I do personally feel like the T Wolves are a better team. I think not that Ant is better than Jokic, but I just feel like the him spearheading his team and the energy that he's coming with, I feel like it's enough to at least match Jokic. And I feel like the rest of the T Wolves are better. Playing better, healthy, younger. And I feel like, but with the Nuggets, they won last year and they always say never underestimate the heart of a champion. But I just feel like the Timberwolves are on a mission. So I had them versus the Thunder going into this game. And so I'm gonna stick with it. Normally I take a pick and I ride with it. So I got T Wolves in six. Yeah, Wolves in 6. And next up, got Thunder last night. The Thunder tied it up with the Dallas Mavericks, 2-2 series, and this one is pretty much all of these on the West. Both of the ones on the West, they're even. I feel like the East is where it's so dominant. But like I said, going into the playoffs, I felt like the top 3 or 4 teams. After that, it was a big drop off. Top 3 teams, it was a drop off after that. And so with the Wolves and Nuggets, that can go either way. Even though I picked the Wolves, and this round right here can go in either direction. Mavs have Luca and Kyrie to close games, but they actually have a pretty decent team around based around that. Like Gafford plays hard, blocks shots, protects the rim, takes charges, sets hard screens. So he's always going to be a lob action. I have the lob option with him as well as with Derek Lively. Plays a lot like Tyson Chandler. Then PJ Washington stretching the floor. Tim Hardaway Jr. stretching the floor. Derrick Jones running the floor, slashing to the basket. So I think they have a good balance of weapons that make it to where you can't just hone in on Luca anymore. But I just feel like the Thunder's big three is better than the Mavs big three. And I feel like although Luca and Kyrie are one of the best duos in the league, it's once you get to that third person, it's going to be that much of a difference. Where I feel like Shea can at least match Luca, but also he gives you something on the defensive end that Luca doesn't give you as well. And then Chet being able to protect the rim, Jalen Williams, Dort can hit shots. Casey Wallace played very well last night. Um, and so I just think the Thunder are going to be too deep. I think they're the better team, better coaching as we speak. And yeah, it sounds weird, but I'm going to go Thunder in 6 again. Yeah, I'm gonna go Thunder in 6. I had Thunder Wolves and then Celtics Knicks on the other side. So I'm gonna stick with it and ride with it. Thunder in 6, but that one can go either way, like I said. So we got to the part of the show where I have a topic and I'm just gonna say how I feel based on it. And so first off, WNBA finally starts a chartering program for the league. I feel like the popularity of the WNBA has finally got to a point where teams and owners can spend the money to get them a direct flight, if not just a private flight. And it's like you're expecting them to play on the West Coast. Let's just say a team like Chicago plays the um, the Sparks. They're playing a game where they play at 5 o'clock. They get out. They're done with the game at 8. Then you got to be go to a regular flight, like a Spirit flight, like I would go to, or a Frontier flight, and then get on that plane. Or what if that plane gets delayed? Then now you're pushed back to where you're supposed to get on a flight at 11. Now you're not getting on till 1. It's already a 4-hour flight. And then you have a game the next day at noon because they play some weird schedules too. And so it's like those types of things where you could have just got done with the game, got on a private flight, just does so much in terms of recovery from game to game. And so I think that it's been in the works. We've been talking about it for some time, especially after the Brittany Griner incident. Um, I feel like it's about time for this. And I was looking at how much money the league is making, and I seen a stat earlier where they pretty much jumped 100 million in revenue from year to the next year. So I think they're trending in the right direction, and this is an about time situation going on here. For they about time they got them private flights. And this one was a big one. Austin Rivers pisses off a lot of people. Says 30 NBA players right now can go to the NFL and play in the league. And although I see what he's talking about, because there are some instances where people that play basketball, it translated to the football field. And so, and more than just the wide receiver position, because people forget about Julius Peppers. But then you also have the tight end and the wide receiver position where there's a lot of people that played wide receiver either played basketball in high school or had got to the point where they were in college. Like Keon Coleman played in college. Um, AJ Green took his team to state in basketball. To was always in celebrity games, and he really looked like he could for real hoop. And so I feel like it's not that much of a stretch to say, but to go as high as like 30 NBA players is crazy to me. And I don't think it's 30. I think right now you could probably go 10 that could probably at least translate or at least get an opportunity. And so, like, I just seen there's someone that's in the combine right now. A team reached out to him, and he's never played football. So I feel like if you're young enough, impressionable enough, and you have the athleticism, there's certain things that can translate. But to just straight up be like, oh, all you got to do is catch it and go up the field is crazy because there's so much more to football than that. And then you got to think about if you know anything about the sport, low man always wins, typically. And if you're 6'6", 6'7", you're not really the likelihood of you being able to get that low to where someone is trying to tackle you or you're trying to tackle someone that's about 6 foot. I don't really think that that's going to work out for you in your favor. So if you're unless you're talking about like crazy athletes that are more around like 6'4", 6'5", then depending on where you put them at on the field, then yes, I can see it. But just to go out and say a large number where it's like, oh, we're the premium athlete and this guy is not, I do kind of agree with the fact that if you're athletic enough to play football, there's more things that you can play rather than on the flip side saying that if you're athletic enough to play basketball, that there's more sports that you can play rather than a football player, if you get what I'm saying. And so, yeah, I think he's tweaking a little bit. I do get where he's coming from, but yeah, it's so many different levels to it. Because then you get the whole physicality part of it too, where there's not that many NBA players that seek physical contact. And so even if you are like Draymond Green is someone that people think like, oh, he could play football, and it's like there's a reason why he played basketball still. So it is what it is. He's tripping. I wouldn't go as far as to say that everybody is soft, but there's just a different skill level and physicality that takes into it that I don't think that it would directly translate at a high clip. Bronny is officially cleared. He is in the combine. He was at the combine. He was in some of the scrimmages played yesterday. Tested out, cleared to play yesterday, and will stay in the league. Well, I said the league, but he'll stay in the draft coming up. And so this one is tough because I do rock with Bronny, and I do think Bronny is going to end up being a good basketball player. But to compare him to his dad, the things that they're just different styles of basketball. So I do think in the end, if I had a second round pick and I had a need for a guard, then I would draft him. But I'm not drafting him in the first round or with a lottery pick at that, because I've seen some people talking about whether or not he's a lottery pick or not. So for me, can't do it, won't do it. He's making a mistake staying in the draft. I think I've seen something where he's like 6'1", but he has like a 6'7" arm length. I've seen him be able to shoot. I do think he's the type of player that needs the ball in his hand a little bit more than what was given to him at USC. So I would have loved to see him be more of a point guard position rather than a two guard, because I do think that's not his spot in his position in the NBA. So in the end, I do think Bronny is making a mistake, It's good to see that he's medically cleared to be able to, after his heart issue that he had for whatever reason that was. But I do think he's making a slight mistake because I just keep hearing, like, you would like to think like, oh, if he's not ready, he can develop in the G League. But then I keep hearing from former NBA players that the G League's uh, a graveyard pretty much. So I would have liked to see him come back for another year. And Caitlyn Clark officially has her debut. Struggled today. I think she went 20. She had 20 points, 3 assists. She went 4 from 11 from three, 5 from 15 from the field altogether, and then had about like 10 turnovers if I'm not mistaken. And this is the thing where I do believe she's getting the coverage that she deserves. I think that what she was able to do at Iowa and what she's done for the sport, the eyes that she's bringing to the TV viewership, you could tell there's definitely a Caitlin Clark effect. When she plays or on a certain channel, there's viewership that goes there. When her name is attached to something, there's a viewership that goes there that doesn't necessarily translate to all the other players or some of the other players. And so I do think that she does get the right coverage for what she is, but we do gotta be real and understand the totality of it and where some of the questions that people have comes from. Because to sit here and act like she's just so much better than anybody else, and that's the only reason she's getting this coverage, would be false and disingenuous at the end of the day. We got to be honest and be able to point out the elephant in the room that she's a white female playing in a sport that's dominated or predominantly played by black women when it comes to this league specifically. And so to ignore that that's not working in her favor as far as the way that she's perceived in the media, the viewership that she's getting, she's appealing to more than um, one audience. Because I've been having this conversation all week with people about there's sometimes where we as black people get so engulfed in our own culture that we don't realize that things aren't as big to other cultures as they are to us. And so, yeah, you can sit here and argue and say, oh, well, this person and this person appeals to this many people. But when it comes to multi-cultures, how many people are they able to appeal to? And this girl happens to be able to benefit from black people supporting her as well as white people supporting her. And so there's definitely an effect, a Caitlin Clark effect on anything that she's on. Um, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but to act as if it doesn't exist is the part where I have problems with it. I do think that there's a conversation we got to have as far as I think pump the brakes on her being able to come in and dominate right away. Diana Taurasi was right. She said she's in for a rude awakening when she gets to the league, and today she struggled. I know it's her first game, but the same way y'all had certain energy for her, have that energy, or for Wimby, have that energy for her. Y'all was questioning Wimby when he struggled, question her when she struggles. And it's her first game. She's gonna get better. She's got to realize certain things. I dislike the amount of touches that Aaliyah Boston had, and I do feel like and I brought this up on the show before, in the WNBA, they still have the way that the game is played. It still benefits you to play through your big, and I think Aaliyah Boston can be a dominant big that they can work an inside outside game. And I think she should lean on her a little more. I know that her coming in with all this hype, they're probably going to give her the ball a little bit more than they should. But I do think she'll be able to fix the turnovers and assist ratio and get accustomed to the game. But I feel like she should definitely lean on Aaliyah Boston a little bit more than what they have in that first game. And so I got to get up out of here. Thank you all for watching. Like I said before, make sure you go follow me at KYNGRALPH everywhere. Add an underscore for X or Twitter. I will be dropping a audio only episode or anywhere you pretty much listen to your podcasts. And then make sure you go like the Facebook page, the He Say She Say channel. Subscribe on YouTube at Juke Media, J.U.K. Media. Follow us at J.U.K. Sports Show, Juke Sports Show. And thank y'all for watching. I'm out of here. And like I always say, love, peace, and aces.